Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Fossholtz. I serve as the Board Administrator for the Texas State Board of Social Worker Examiners. I'd like to call the roll. Chair Brumley.
Present.
Ms. Andrade indicated she cannot attend. Mr. Bernal. Ms. Della Pena.
Here. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Mr. Marsden.
Present.
Ms. Pryor.
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Swartz indicated she could not attend. Ms. Tatum.
Present.
Thank you. And we do have a vacancy on the board, so that's a quorum and we're present. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. So I want to thank everybody for showing up today for the meeting of the Texas State Board of Social Worker Examiners. If you have your agenda, we're gonna take public comment, and then as soon as public comment ends, we're gonna skip to agenda item number 5, which is a demonstration from the CE broker folks. So we'll have public comment. You'll have 3 minutes. You're not required to take the whole 3 minutes, but we do give you 3 minutes. And so if you're in the audience, you can use the raised hand feature and Sarah will allow you in to speak. All right. Who do we have, Sarah?
And yeah, there we go.
Adam, you have public comment?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I have more of a question, if that's possible to address with you.
Sure. Would you state your name and if you're a part of an organization?
My name is Adam, and I am not part of any organization. I am just a graduate of a master's in social work.
Okay.
I wanted to ask a question to the board about deciding factors when considering a social work candidate for their license, and factors in which you deny social work licensee candidates. I had an offense over 5 years ago as part of a DUI. I completed a pretrial diversion program and the case was dismissed. And I just, I took classes as part of a program and received counseling to support career guidance, growth, and support. I successfully completed the program and exited the program early as a result of consistent positive results. My offense is eligible for expungement, but at the moment I don't have the funds, and I wanted to see if I could still obtain my license with this offense on my record. In addition to therapy, I've chosen to abstain from alcohol for spiritual reasons for the last 6 years. These are some decisions.
Hold on, Adam.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming here and bringing this forward. Let me tell you a few things, because one, we can have some questions, we can have some dialogue, but it's not really an open forum to have too much back and forth. We cannot really go into personal details at a public meeting about your experience. But what I can tell you is 2 things. One, at an individual level, if you are concerned about your particular background, for any applicant out there, we do offer the service that you can apply just to have your criminal background reviewed to see if that is going to be a bar to licensure. And that will allow staff to look at all of your details before you apply for a license to let you know if that will bar you from getting a license. The other thing I'd say is, in general, there are some, for social work particularly, there are some, and Sarah's showing on the screen where you can get to that under our forms and publications. For social work, there are some statutory listed offenses. Usually they involve violence that the board is prohibited from giving a license. It is not within their discretion. Now, it doesn't sound like your description is violent, so you might not fall into that category. Otherwise, if the board is not statutorily prohibited from giving you a license, the board will consider, staff will consider, and all of your circumstances. And so we will take into consideration remediation you've done and mitigating factors, all those things. So certainly for anyone out there who is worried about their potential criminal history, would love to have conversations with you, and you can ask for that evaluation.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam. Mr. Francis, you have a comment?
Oh, you're muted again, Will.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yep.
You can keep muting me all you want. I appreciate the opportunity to share. I'm Will Francis, the Executive Director of the National Association of Social Workers, Texas and Louisiana chapter. I will be brief. I've read the agenda and appreciate you all reviewing the rules again. NSW does not have any concerns about that. I just would like to make one possible recommendation. I know that the state of Texas has not passed the Social Work Compact, but there are discussions of the Social Work Council the Compact Council happening. And I think an update in this space of those might be helpful. I know that folks are able to watch virtually and participate long distance. If Texas is interested, I'd be more than happy to take notes and share with this board, and that can be passed on that way, or if you all have a representative who would rather attend. But just think it might be helpful for folks to see what's happening as the compact is moving on outside of Texas, and hopefully Texas will eventually join. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and appreciate you all having the meeting.
Thank you, Will. And yeah, just for everyone's knowledge out there, we are, several of us are involved closely with the Association of Social Work Boards, the National Association of our regulatory boards, who are very tied in with the Social Work Compact. And so we certainly do keep abreast of changes there, and they are launching and they are moving forward. So should Texas be involved in the future, we are ready to be involved if the legislature passes that. But yeah, certainly we always welcome feedback and input. And so any updates you want to share with us to pass along, that's always good.
Thank you, Mr. Is there any other public comment? We have no one here. We have no one in person to give public comment. If you still have public comment to give and you're attending by computer, please raise your hand. I'm looking for anyone attending by telephone. I don't see anyone. There we go. Eric B., you have public comment? Can you unmute?
That was me.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Just barely.
Yeah, sorry. I'll try to speak up a little bit. Thank
That's
you.
better.
That's great. Thank you, board. Thank you for all the work you all do. I've been a social worker now, and I'll try to be quick. And I don't know if this is this is the first time I've ever taken part in any of the social work board meetings. So I'm not entirely sure if this is the right approach or not, but I've been a social worker now since 2008. I have a bachelor's in social work, a master's in social work, and I've been licensed on all levels, and I'm also a social work supervisor. The reason why I wanted to log on and just share some of my thoughts is because I've been in the field for so long, and I've seen, a lot of situations out there that other social workers become very confused and frustrated about. And I wanted just to share something with the board that I'm hoping in the future maybe be taken into consideration. We have social workers that complete their master's degree. They have to pass an LMSW exam, which they, obviously are successful in, and then they're able to start their clinical hours. Well, they start their clinical hours, and then they might not pass the clinical licensing exam. And this is a very confusing situation for them because and for supervisors too, because then what happens? After that, they have to wait 3 months. I guess they're still under a board approved supervision plan in that time. I don't know how long that lasts. If they fail it again, or if they fail it again, um, you know, the licensed professional counselor way of doing things sounds to be more reasonable, where they pass the exam first, take care of their clinical hours, and then they're able to move forward. They don't have to pass the exam after that. So they're not wasting all of this time if they're going into their hours, 3,000 hours, and then you know, then you know, on the social work side, don't pass the exam. It's very convoluted. And I'm not sure why we as a social work profession haven't addressed this very difficult, you know, situation, or if even if this has been brought up, or maybe it's going to be addressed at some point, or maybe it's even in the agenda now. I'm not sure, but it's definitely something I wanted to bring to the board's attention, in hopes that we could really look at this and figure out a way that could work a little bit better and that's less confusing for supervisors and for those that are in the process of earning their clinical social worker hours. Thank you. That's all I have to share, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Gina Bowens, you have public comment? Ms. Bowens, can you unmute? Or it looks like you're unmuted. Oops.
Try again.
Ms. Bowens, do you have comment?
We can see that you're unmuted, but we cannot hear you. Check your audio settings there at the bottom left. Make sure the microphone is selected.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So my question is, and let me just say, I'm very bad at test taking, horrible. It's very bad test anxiety. It is a real thing. And I noticed that we're trying to bring back the alternate testing where you have to be supervised for a year. And because that's how I got my bachelor's license. And I see it's still in council. Do we know where that is? And who do we talk to get that passed? I know I'm not the only one that has testing issues. And so I was just wondering, is it still in the House? Did it die? Do we know why no one wants to approve it?
Yes, ma'am. So that was a bill that was introduced in the Texas House during the regular session this spring,
Mhm.
and it did not go anywhere. I believe it was referred to a committee, but I do not believe it ever had a hearing.
Mhm.
And so it with no hearing, and it did not get introduced in the Senate. It did not pass. And so, pardon me, I would encourage, if you're interested in that, speaking to the House office that filed the bill would
Mhm.
be your best contact, because clearly they are interested in that, and I'm sure would be happy to hear from folks who are supportive of it.
Okay, thank you. I'll definitely reach out. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Bowens. I see no other hands raised. And I see no one logged in by telephone, so I believe that ends public comment.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. So that would end agenda item number 3. And as indicated, we're going to skip number 4 and move to agenda item 5 for a demonstration by the CE broker folks.
All right. And we have Jason Grubb from CE Broker, who we've been working closely with. And Jason, thanks for being here, and we'll turn the floor over to you.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks for the invitation. Can everyone hear me okay? And can everyone see the slide I have up on the screen?
Yes, indeed.
Perfect. Chair Brumley, members of the board and staff, my name's Jason Grubb. I'm your client success manager with CE Broker. I serve as the primary point of contact for Daryl and his staff, and I appreciate you allowing me to join this morning. Chair Brumley, you mentioned something just at the beginning that you were going to see a demonstration of CE Broker. I just want to level set some expectations. This is more so a kind of a project overview or more a CE Broker overview and a project recap to date. I can certainly jump in at the end and show you a few things of the platform, but I just wanted to make sure that this isn't a full-on demonstration of the system. It's more so just a handful of slides to kind of show you what we've been up to in the last several months. With that said, I do have a kind of a brief overview of CE Broker, just outlining our progress to date, including our communication efforts so far. I'll share with you some figures related to adoption of our platform so far by your licensees, discuss a few of the kind of forthcoming goals that we're working towards. And then, of course, any questions you may have, happy to address those at the end. Should be about 15 minutes or so. But with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to begin with just a kind of high-level overview of who we are. CE Broker is really but one product line powered by an organization that's called Propellus. That organization is really modernizing how professionals, their employers, regulators, and associations kind of all work together. And 20 years ago, we were conceived as a solution for Florida's Department of Health as an automated solution to track CE requirements for their 33 healthcare boards and million-plus licensees. Additionally, EverCheck, that's a credentials verification platform that's used by hospitals and health system HR departments to essentially ensure that healthcare workers and other employees, they're clear to be out on the floor kind of at any given time. And then lastly, Imuware, that's a comprehensive employee and occupational health monitoring software solution. Some people liken that structure to Intuit, right? Within Intuit, you have TurboTax and Credit Karma and all those kind of products within the umbrella. Similar kind of structure here. Just wanted to orient you to the Propellus name a little bit. Like I mentioned, we were founded a little over 20 years ago. Since then, we've expanded to now work with over 300 different agencies, serving about 5 million professionals nationwide. And uniquely to us is we also partner with more than 6,500 educational providers to encourage professional development and further support CE compliance. Texas actually marks the 12th state whose mental and behavioral health licensees we serve. There's a pretty good chance that your colleagues and peers in other states are already familiar with CE Broker and possibly even using us. The fun fact, I'm in Colorado now, but Texas is my home state. I grew up just north of Austin, really small town called Gerald, Texas, right on I-35. And I went to school at Texas State University. So personally, I'm especially excited to bring our solution to the state of Texas, a state that I know well and love quite a bit. Lastly here, as far as a high-level overview, so our platform is actually, it's not just for you, the regulator, rather it's built with all three, what we kind of consider the primary stakeholders in mind. So that's boards and councils, obviously the kind of the regulating entities, the licensee, and education providers. And so they all interact with our platform in a little bit of a different way, kind of through their own unique logins and portals, but ultimately in concert to kind of fulfill their, respective piece of the CE puzzle, as it were. So now that we've kind of covered some of those foundational pieces, I wanted to turn our focus to the work we've been doing specifically with the Texas State Board of Social Worker Examiners. As I'm sure you all are well aware, occupational licensure and continuing education requirements vary widely from state to state, from board to board. As such, CE Broker is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Kind of by necessity, we customize and configure our platform to your own unique regulations. And thanks to our experience and efficiency in this space, And thanks to your very knowledgeable staff, very knowledgeable and responsive staff and dedicated staff, we were able to go from contract signature in January to a delivered product and open access to all of your licensees in just 8 months. I won't detail kind of each milestone here, but what I don't want to get lost in this is the numerous meetings and verification conversations that we had with your staff, ensuring that we really fully understand your laws and rules so that our system is reflective of such. Kind of really was a team effort. And you'll see there at the end, your staff announced to the licensed population on August 13th. So it's been just about a month. And well, this will tie into my next slide. That certainly wasn't the only piece of communication. Again, as I know you all are well aware, informing your licensed professionals of new systems, processes, or new requirements, it can be a real challenge. And we're thankful to your staff's thoughtful and proactive approach in laying out, what is really kind of a multifaceted, recurring, impactful messaging campaign. You'll see we had 2 pre-launch notices go out that informed licensees, of the upcoming availability of CE Broker, but also encouraging them to register for and participate in one of several co-hosted webinars. I'll talk more about those in a minute. Obviously, again, there was that population-wide announcement that went out on the 13th of last month that I previously mentioned. And then starting with those individuals renewing in renewing in October, information about CE Broker started going out in those 75-day renewal notices. And that the first of those kind of also coincided with that initial August announcement. The webinars I mentioned, we held the first of 3 of those on August 27th, and participation was quite strong. I don't know exactly how many social workers were present, but across all BHEC professions, we had 1,000 folks on the Zoom webinar. That's actually the participation limit for the seating limit for the license that we have. And we had another 2,000 individuals viewing the live stream that we pushed to YouTube. And a recording of that is available on the board CE overview page. We have 2 more such webinars slated for October 29th and December 10th. So any members of the public, any social workers who are participating today, I would encourage you to register for one of those if you have not already. That is a detailed, truly a demonstration of the platform, walking through kind of every facet of it, really orienting licensees to what they can expect when they're using the system. And then, of course, lastly there, my participation at yours, obviously, as I am here, and other BHEC board meetings this month and next. Obviously, not only for your benefit, but also for the benefit of those licensees who are viewing remotely. So the next maybe kind of logical question may be, how effective has these various communication efforts been? I wanted to jump into some account activation figures with you quickly. So since we announced on August 13th, engagement has increased quite steadily day after day. This slide here is for all of BHEC. This represents about 13% of the total license population that have already created accounts in just the last month. Then diving in a little more granularly to social workers, about 4,500 folks have already created accounts. And this also equates to about 13% of those of that specific license type. So tracking right in line with the general rate across all the BHEC professions. So looking ahead over the next several months, there are some key kind of milestones coming up that I wanted to share with you. In addition to the future webinars and board presentations and ongoing communications that I referenced previously, the next phase of rollout involves integrating CE Broker with your licensing system via a backend API connection. API connection, it's essentially just a language that allows our system to talk to your system, but that connection will verify CE compliance for licensees in real time. So starting with those licensees renewing in January, their notices will indicate that usage of the platform is mandatory and they will not be able to renew their license unless CE is uploaded into the CE Broker system. Beyond that, CE Broker is committed to providing additional webinars or any other kind of resources that you need. And that actually also includes access to our ongoing access to our support center, which I'll cover quickly here as well. Then that'll be the last of my slides. We take quite a bit of pride in our customer support. We have dedicated in-house customer support specialists. You know, they're all employees of our organization. They're all based here in the United States, and they're trained thoroughly on your rules and regulations. They're available Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time. Additionally, we have a robust resource library full of step-by-step guides, tutorial videos, and other resources in case somebody wants to, or in case someone is wants to try and solve the problem themselves, I guess is what I should say. So with that, that's kind of the end of my slides. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Jason. Before the board jumps in with questions, I just to second some of the things that you were saying, and just for the licensees listening or who may listen to this meeting later, we have had a very intentional launching phase with various communications in these webinars because we know there are going to be growing pains. Right? We know this is a new requirement that all of you have been tracking your CE individually for many years. But really the effort here is to find a seamless way that you can have that tracking that not only benefits you, but benefits us. It allows us to process your renewals and see that you're meeting all those CE requirements in the blink of an eye, as you said, automatically letting the board know. But that's why we put the registration sort of deadline in January. That if you're renewing this fall, we know that's a short turnaround, and so you are able to renew without having your CE broker account. However, I very much encourage you to go ahead and create it and get started being familiar with how to upload your certificates, because the platform CE broker has created is is very professional and is very smart, but it relies on you, the licensee, to tell it what kind of CE you have and to upload those certificates. You are still the driver in deciding what CE you take and how you report it and what it counts for. And so you are still in that driver's seat. We want you to get comfortable over the fall to do that. That's why we had that webinar in August. You can access the recording and the transcript of all the Q&A that occurred. We are saving those so that you can go back and look at them. Staff answered over 200 questions from the 1,000 people that were in the audience, but we know there were more questions we couldn't get to. So we are trying to work heavily to make sure you get all the information that you might need. So please utilize our website, watch the webinar, and hopefully by the time January rolls around, everybody will be up to speed on what to do. So with that, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. Jason, I just I wanted to excuse me, wanted to make a comment and then I have a question. So I follow several forums around the state that are dedicated to social work and mental health. And when the notice came out from BHEC, a lot of the forums, people were on there saying, oh, there's just another way to get money, blah, blah, blah. And I don't respond on those forums just because I don't feel like it's my place because of my position here. But would you go ahead and talk about the cost structure and how that's set up?
that's a great question, Chair Brumley, and I'm happy to dive into it. It may be helpful. I can actually show you the different account levels, and it'll maybe help shed a little bit of light on that structure. Let me
Okay.
jump in here real quick. I'll just share my screen again, and I can show you the. So for individuals who have not yet signed up, you'll sign up by going to cebroker.com. If you already have an account, obviously you'll click sign in. If you don't yet have an account, you'll click get started. And because I mentioned before, as I mentioned before, our system is bespoke to each board's unique rules and requirements. So we need to know what state you're in and what your profession is in. So in this case, we'll select Texas, and we'll select licensed social worker. Then you can click continue. From this screen, you'll see the different account options that are available to licensees. So we consider our service maybe an esoteric term, but it's a freemium model where there is a free basic account that allows licensees to do everything the board is requiring of you. If a licensee would like some additional convenience features and hand-holding, if they would like all their CE to be included in the purchase price, we have account options for those individuals as well. The upgraded paid accounts certainly are not a requirement to stay in compliance with the board's requirement that you use the platform. So for demonstration purposes, I'll just jump over here to this the free account, and I'll show you really quickly how easy it is to sign up. You'll click sign up. Because we get data directly from the state, our system is tied to your individual license number. So we'll go ahead and enter that here. How many eights is that? Is that 7 eights? That's 8 eights. We need 7. If you forget your license number, we have a simple drop-down menu here. It'll take you straight to the board's license verification page, so you can double check that. Go ahead and click continue. Because the same license number may be used across multiple professions within BHEC, you just need to make sure that you are selecting the one unique to you. If you're selecting one that already has an account created, our system is going to let you know that. So I know that there's an account created for this individual here already. I'll click continue. Our system's going to say this license number you entered already has a CE broker account. So then you can go back and we'll select a different one. I actually don't have a test social worker account, but I do have a test. I believe this is a counselor account. We'll use that as an example. So we'll select this licensed professional counselor. Oh, that one also already has an account. Let me find another one for you. We only have so many of these Jane Doe accounts, as you can imagine. So let's see, we'll find. Here we go. So this individual this is a counselor, but the sign-up process would be exactly the same for your social workers. Once you've confirmed that this license is in fact you and it's the correct profession, all we need is an email address. I'll just throw one in here, and you'll create your username and password. We'll say test user LPC, for instance. Then we just need a password. And really, that's all that it takes to create your account. It's going to sign us in, and it's going to show us the basic account as soon as it loads here in a second. And that's about it. So to your point specifically, Chair Brumley, our service is actually free to BHEC, to the Social Workers Examiners Board, and to the state of Texas. Where our funding model comes in is with these optional subscriptions that licensees can choose to upgrade to if they so desire. We also have additional services for education providers as well that helps to drive our revenue stream. But to use the system and to comply with the board's requirements, only the basic free account is required.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Jason. So that just lets everybody know that if you choose the base or the basic account, there is no charge, and there is no indication in the future there will be a charge for that. So
correct.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Jason has a question.
Hey, Jason, this is Jason Bernal, cool name, by the way.
I agree.
Yeah. Easy name to remember. For those social workers that are part of healthcare systems or, for instance, primary care group, is this interoperable, compliant with EMRs?
When you say EMRs, what do you mean?
Electronic health records?
Oh, so yes and no. Automatically no. However, the those health systems do have the opportunity to leverage what we call CE broker learning, whereby they can view the compliance status of any of their employees at any given time. They can report completions for them as well. That's kind of a different product line, but it does allow those hospital and healthcare systems to tie into our system and to not only check for the status of the individuals on their payroll, but to also report completions and help further ensure that they are staying compliant and able to work at any given time. Was that your question?
Yeah, I just wanted to see how they're aligned. I work for a group, so if we can make it more feasible for the social workers to work under our umbrella, we want to make it easier for them. So that's why I'm asking. So,
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jason. All right. CE, Jason, anybody have any questions for Jason?
I did have a question, Chair. If that's
Go
all
ahead,
right.
David.
Mr. Grubb, thank you for your time today. Is there functionality built within CE Broker that would allow continuing education providers to directly upload the verification to your system and bypass the responsibility of the social worker altogether?
Yes, that's a great question. I mentioned previously how our system is built with three primary stakeholders in mind: the regulating entity, the licensee, and the education provider. So education providers can register on our platform, and they go through a unique sign-up flow that's based on that specific board's requirements, whether they have to submit information for board approval or whether things are rule approved nationally, whatever that flow is. Education providers can sign up on our system, then they can upload courses into the system so that when they have individuals who complete those courses, they can report into our system on behalf of their learners. And they can do that a number of ways. They can either do it manually, one by one, if they have a small, class of 10 folks. If it's a large conference, an association conference, and they have several hundred attendees, we can do a bulk file import, and we give those providers all of the templates and required information so they can easily do that. Some of the larger national providers will actually set up a backend, either web services connection or API, so that once their database populates, it populates our system as well. But yes, to your point, that is a feature of our platform that does significantly alleviate the burden on licensees of having to keep track of their certificates from the conference they went to over the weekend, and then take photos of those or scan them into the computer and drag them into the system. We certainly encourage any and all providers to leverage our system to report completions on behalf of their learners. Not only does it streamline the process for the licensee, but it also helps to ensure that the information is true and accurate, and just reduces the opportunity for human error. All of those services that I mentioned previously, those are all free for education providers. They can register on a platform, upload courses, and report completions, and apply to a board for approval if that's the case. All completely free.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Right. All right. Seeing no further questions. Any staff, anybody, y'all have any questions? No. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jason. And I appreciate the information and your time today for catch up on the movement of CE Broker.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite, and y'all enjoy the rest of your morning and afternoon.
All righty. Okay. We will now move back to agenda item number 4. So just reports on general matters. 4A is report from the board chair. I guess I can just report that since our last meeting in June, I know Robert, Ms. Pryor, and Executive Director Spinks, we attended the ASW conference in Vermont. There were updates on activities related to the test, the ASWB exam. The board, the ASWB board is looking at making some possible changes and ways in which the questions are presented. That's the basic information there. Other than that, there's lots of discussion nationwide about how quality supervision should be performed and how that happens from a state to state process, and looking at maybe trying to be a little more congruent with hours required for the clinical licensure across the U.S. So there is work afoot nationwide about trying to streamline social workers' abilities to have access to license in other states. And that's with the compact and also outside the compact. So that's report out on that. Report 4B is report from the delegates to the executive council. That would be me and Ms. Pryor. I don't have anything to report. We do have a meeting next month. I think it's October 13th or 14th. Okay. So October 14th. Ms. Pryor, you have anything to say about the council meeting?
Not a whole lot. I guess the most significant thing that we talked about was just in the investments. We did meet with Morgan Stanley, and they're going to be made some changes in the amount that how we're investing the funds that we have. But that hadn't even been finalized yet, but that was the biggest part of our discussion.
Okay, thank you. And that was related to the ASWB meeting in Vermont, right, Ms. Pryor?
Yes, we have not met since Vermont
Okay.
on anything else.
All right. Thank you very much for that.
Just to make clear, in case anyone gets confused in listening, the board does not have any investments with Morgan Stanley.
Yeah.
We don't get to do that.
Yeah. The Texas board. Yeah. That's ASWB that she was speaking of. Okay. That'll take us to 4C, report from board administrator and other staff. So Sarah, you have anything?
So I've included in the meeting materials for the board members reports on our July 16th Insight, our October 22nd Leadership Listening. These are webinars provided by the council and the boards for applicants or licensees or other stakeholders to ask questions and get some contact or some information from executive staff. As mentioned earlier, August 27th was the first CE broker demonstration webinar. And I'd like to quickly show you how you can find that information on the website. So if you go to www.bhec.texas.gov to our landing page, if you scroll down a little bit is the moving landmark, but it shows up for CE broker. If you click on that CE broker page or image, it will take you to the CE broker page. It tells you a quick instruction on how to activate your account. And if you'd like to learn more about it, there's also a link to the YouTube recording, the video recording of the August 27th event. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. Want to remind everyone, I'm sliding down to the left-hand quick links toward the bottom to email updates. If you are not currently subscribing to email updates, while changes like CE broker and new rules come up, you may wish to be informed about what's going on. You can sign up here for email updates. Complete this online form. It will send an email confirmation to your email inbox. Just follow the prompts there to complete the subscription process. And I think included in meeting materials were some reports from ASWB about their workforce census. I'd like to remind board members, if you receive emails or calls or requests for help from applicants or licensees or stakeholders, please do forward those to me. We want to make sure that we have board records in one place, and also I'm here as a resource to help with answering those inquiries. And I believe that concludes my report unless there's any questions I can answer.
I don't have any.
Uh,
Robert, Patrick, y'all have anything?
Patrick, you want to give just a non-update update on the litigation?
Nothing new to report because there's been no movement since the last time we met. So
So Patrick, speaking of the lawsuit that was
Mhm.
brought by a couple of social workers related to the statute that we shall not license people with certain,
in chapter 108 of the
Yeah.
occupations
yeah,
code,
the
right?
occupations code.
It's it's still on appeal and pending. So last I heard, they're filing briefs, but there may be oral arguments later. There's not a date set that I am aware of. So
Okay.
nothing new really to report. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Patrick. Robert, anything?
Not anything pressing that I can think of.
Okay. So we'll move to 4D, reports from committees. Report from the Ethics Committee. We did not, if I remember, we might have had one session of ICs, but I don't remember exactly since our June meeting. But other than that, I don't have anything to report out from Ethics. License Standard Qualification Committee, that is vacant at the time. Sarah, they didn't meet, did they, or did they?
No, we've had no appeals.
Okay.
And I just wanted to mention, I'll be updating a document about all of the board's committees and sending that out to the board members. So the new board members in particular, and ongoing members can refer what each committee does. And then I'll be asking Chair Brumley to make new committee assignments as he deems appropriate.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. D3, Professional Development Committee. We did not have anything other than reviewing the jurisprudence exam, I guess, other than since then, and we'll get to that later. But and then Rules Committee is also vacant. So and I don't think they met at all. So,
That's correct. They have
Yeah.
not met.
yeah. Okay. All right. So we will move on then to agenda item number 6, matters for potential board action. 6, licensing matters. We didn't have any, did we?
There are none.
There are none. Okay. So we'll move to 7, exam matters, reports from the board about the jurisprudence exam. It's been, it's updated to current statutes and standards and is required for everybody. So it's still, yeah. 8, enforcement matters. Anything going on there with any SOA cases to report out on, Patrick?
Yes, we have one SOA case for the board to review that came back. It is it was a default proceeding. So the respondent in this instance was engaged in inappropriate communications and boundaries with clients. So this went to an ISC, went to a SOA proceeding. We provided sufficient notice of the proceeding, and they failed to appear. So we asked for a default, and the SOA administrative law judge granted it. And so it's now been put back to the board to review the record, and all the documents are in the board's materials. There's also a proposed order for the board to consider, and the order would revoke the license, and that recommended order would need to go to the council in October for a final vote. I would ask that we at least see if Ms. Rodriguez is in attendance. Our notice gave her a few minutes to speak if she does attend, but I don't know that she is in attendance because she had not attended the prior SOA hearing. So
Okay. All right. So we'll ask matter relating to agenda item 8, A and B. SOA docket case 510-25-15954 relating to Ms. Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez, if you're out there, would you please signify that you'd like to speak by raising your hand on the raise hand feature? All right, seeing none, hearing none. So board, in your packet, you've had opportunity to read and review the information as discussed by Patrick. I would entertain a motion relating to this matter. Oh, go ahead, Jason. You're recognized.
I'm just giving my approval.
Okay, so you have to make a motion.
Okay.
Move to, yeah.
And I guess I should say, since we do have new board members, we've never really done any training about parliamentary procedure or doing anything. So traditionally speaking, chairs of boards do not make the motions themselves because it is left up to the body to decide what to do. And so chairs, Mr. Brumley tries to not make the motion. If you have a motion, you simply state, I move that we do and do whatever it is that your motion is. Any board member may make a motion. It then requires a second of another board member. And so that just any other board member can second the motion. If no one makes a second, then the motion fails, dies. If someone does make a second, then you have a chance still as the group to discuss the motion, and then you vote on the motion. And if you have a majority in favor of the motion, it prevails.
My motion is to accept the proposal.
So we have a motion to accept the proposal based on the information that is in your packet. So I need a second.
I'll
second
second it.
that.
So we have a second from Mr. David Marston. So any discussion? Anybody need any more information? Okay. All right. We'll accept a vote related to the revocation of the license related to this matter. So all those in favor signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Unanimous decision. The motion does carry. So, all right. Thank you for that. And thank you, Robert, for that update on parliamentary procedure. So we'll move now into rulemaking, which is agenda item number 9. So we have the adoption and discussion of possible action recommended of adoption of new rules and the proposed rules. At this time, we have, just so everybody is aware how many there are, 17. So I will turn this over to Deputy Executive Director Romig, and we will take these as a group at the end. So
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, for those who are a little surprised to see these and that we didn't have any adoptions, at your last board meeting, you had approved several rules to be published in the register and proposed. However, we did not end up taking that action. That is because we identified a couple of rules that we had missed that needed some language. And we also got feedback from the governor's office on some of the rules. And so we wanted to bring it all back as a package so that it was all getting proposed at the same time, particularly because, as we discussed last time, some of this is reorganizing the numbers. And if you don't do it all at the same time, it starts to get really messy. So I'll go over the highlights so that everybody knows what the general package is. We added Rule 102 and 302. These are just cleanup provisions. Nothing new happened, but because of the reorganization and changes to how we're using the term supervisor, we just wanted to make sure they were consistent with the other rules. 303, we had previously talked about. This is just harmonizing language about when a social worker needs to work with fellow providers if their client is seeing another mental health provider. It's just about coordination. It does not require licensees to necessarily agree on treatment plans or anything. 322 is a new rule that's proposed and has nothing to do with the reorganization. This is one of 2 statutorily required updates to rules. And so what you'll see in that one, the legislature in the recent session updated the requirements to be someone qualified to do child custody evaluations. And so this rule just amends by adding the new requirements for 8 hours of family violence training and 3 hours of training in intellectual or developmental disabilities. Rules 401, 402, 403, 404, 405, 406, and 407 are all the reorganization rules. And so what you'll see there are some repeals of some of the rules and new rules in place or amendments. Part of the feedback we got from the governor's office was essentially to try to minimize the amount of movement, so it didn't look like we were changing too much, trying to show what we're keeping the same. And so really the difference between what you see here and what was previously is some numbering. The text ultimately is the same for 401 through 406.
Excuse me, it's the same as the previous proposed
As
rules.
yes, the text
Not
is
the same as current.
current rules.
Because
Correct.
there are
It
some
is-
additions.
Yes, it is the same as the proposed rules you adopted at your last meeting. Just in short, what we're doing here, in addition to reorganizing these rules to make it just a little more clear for licensees what requirements are and getting all the supervision requirements together, getting all the IPR requirements together. We also added in Rule 403, or new proposed Rule 403, we added some clarification of what supervisors are supposed to keep in their supervision file to make it more clear what the expectation was. We also are adding clarification that if a supervisee gets a remediation plan that they need to improve on something and change supervisors, they need to take that remediation plan with them. The new supervisor can certainly decide whether it's necessary, but they need to know what progress the person has made. Similarly, if a supervisee is notified that they have a complaint against them, they need to let their supervisor know, because the supervisor themselves may be implicated, and certainly would hopefully provide supervision how to keep them from getting in trouble going forward. 404 is the one that change is now amended rather than repealed and replaced. So it's it and 101 are amendments. 405, I wanted to point out for licensees particularly, we added a provision clarifying a little bit the question that the gentleman at the beginning of the meeting asked. When you have an LMSW who is getting supervision toward the LCSW, once they have met the hours requirement, it is optional for them to continue to do clinical hours and be supervised going forward. But to make sure it's very clear, what I'm saying is, and the rule is adding, if the LMSW chooses to continue to gain clinical hours, they may choose to do that, but must be supervised while they're doing that. But the LCSW supervisor and the LMSW may agree that they don't need to do any more clinical hours because they've met the requirement, and they may stop the supervised experience at that point. They're not required to continue to do more hours than is needed. So that's what the rule is. Language there is clarifying.
If I could add, while the master social worker is still a master social worker, they may not provide clinical services unless there is some oversight. They don't have to be, once they've completed the requirements and they're, for example, maybe registering for or preparing for the ASWB clinical exam, they may continue to provide clinical services, but not necessarily under that LCSW supervisor. They may be, their clinical services may be supervised by other credentialed professionals who are listed in the rules. But an LMSW may never provide clinical services without some supervision, some oversight of those services.
Correct. And that is not changing in the rules. We are simply saying you are not bound to continue under your supervision plan once you've completed. Let's see, 406 is about the independent practice recognition. 407 is the one we had the most feedback from the governor's office, and it aligned actually with a lot of the discussion we had at the prior meeting. This rule is regarding how the agency is going to determine if an LMSW or someone else is practicing independently in violation of the rules. And previously, we had copied existing rule language that referenced IRS rules and Workforce Commission rules, but the language was a little it needed updating. It was old rule language, and we at the time, I think you as a board agreed at it later. We got feedback from the governor's office that it was kind of confusing, and we really should update it now. And so that is the one rule in this reorganization package that has different language than you approved last time, but it's just been brought into plain English so that it should be more clear for those reading it. Well, one more explanation, and then 419 is the other rule that is not related to the reorganization at all, but is a statutorily required rule. The legislature updated the rules regarding military service and granting licenses to veterans and service members and their spouses. It used to be that there was a requirement that the board consider whether another state's rules were substantially equivalent. The legislature has gotten rid of that substantial equivalency language and instead are just looking at is the scope of practice of someone licensed in the same. Staff has determined the scope of practice for every social work board in the country is the same basic scope of practice. There may be some individual differences, but so we're updating the rule to reflect that statutory change. So those are the rules packages. I've told you all the distinct changes to the actual rules. Otherwise, it's pretty much reorganization. I will note, Mr. Chair, we have 2 hands raised in the audience. We don't traditionally take questions from the audience outside of public comment, but I do know this is a large rule package, so I will to you if you think that's an exception this time.
So members of the Zoom meeting out there with your hands raised, if you have a specific question and you're not going into a long detailed story, we will take your information. I mean, we'll take your question and see if we can provide you information. I can't make any promises that we can give you an answer at this time, but yes, we will go ahead and take the two hands are raised, right? Yeah, we'll take these 2 questions. So we have Vanessa.
Eric B.
Oh, Eric B again. Okay. Eric, go ahead with your question.
Thank you very much for allowing me to ask this follow-up question. After the discussion of the LMSW's hours and the supervision and all of that, because this is a very convoluted situation. It's very confusing. According to the rules, an LMSW may operate in a clinical and use clinical social work skills outlined by the rules and regs if they're in an employment situation. That's the key word, in an employment situation. An LMSW under a supervision plan may provide clinical social work skills if under contract, another key word there. So when the LMSW is under a supervision plan, they can do a contract work. If they're an LMSW, they can be employed in an employment setting. So after they complete their hours under contract as with a board approved supervision plan, and they don't pass their exam and they're not actually an employee, this is where the problem lies, not just for the social worker, but for the clients that the social worker is currently viewing or seeing. This becomes problematic for both the client, and depending if the supervision plan will continue and how long it can continue. And if the continuation of that supervision plan means that their supervision, even though they've met their hours, that they would still have to continue to meet with their supervisor on what would be a regular schedule of once per week, until the LMSW does pass that exam. And that is my question, and I think it needs to be cleared up. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
So I'm sorry, I'm displaying 781.404 A as in apple, and I'm highlighting subsections 2 and 3. The clinical supervision of a licensed master social worker. Yes, they must be employed. They cannot own their own practice to provide clinical supervision, or they can be under a contract with an agency. The agency has some oversight, but the clinical services of that LMSW under Section 2, if they are no longer accruing hours or they never wish to accrue hours, they may be supervised by a licensed professional counselor, licensed psychologist, a licensed marriage and family therapist, a licensed clinical social worker, or a psychiatrist. So if their services have oversight by one of those professionals, they can continue to provide clinical services. They can continue to study and get ready for their next exam attempt. There need not be any disruption in continuity of care for their clients. However, if they are still accruing hours, then they have to be supervised by a licensed clinical social worker with the supervisor status. That's all we're trying to differentiate is that the master social worker has some options rather than continuing the expense of the clinical supervisory sessions, if there are any. I hope that's a little clearer.
Absolutely. It's meant to provide two paths. And I also want to clarify, just making sure, I think the audience knows this, but there is a difference between a licensed professional counselor associate or a licensed marriage and family therapy associate who is under supervision, gaining supervision experience hours, and an LMSW who is getting clinical supervision under a supervision plan. The boards or LPC and LMFT have allowed those associates to practice independently while under supervision. And so that supervision may look very similar in the educational and mentorship components to what the LMSW is receiving. But under the social work board rules, LMSWs and LBSWs who do not hold IPR are not allowed to practice independently, whether they are supervised or not. And simply having a supervisor and a supervision plan and meeting with a supervisor once a week does not block all manners of experience. It does not open the door for an LMSW to own their own practice and practice independently and have clients simply because they are meeting with a LCSW supervisor once a week. I just want to make sure that's very clear that the existing rules that require an LMSW to be working in an employment or contract setting under the auspices of an agency and a supervisor are still in effect while the LMSW is gaining those hours.
And Mr. Eric, I'd like to hear more from you. And I was going to ask if you would send me an email under the Contact Us page and put attention Sarah in the subject line so that I can get in contact with you after this meeting. And very much like to better understand the situations that you're describing and make sure that I'm getting what you're trying to communicate. But I would like to give Vanessa Ibarra a chance to speak.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So Vanessa, if you're there, you can go ahead and unmute and speak.
Perfect. Hi, my question was about the new requirement that they don't have to continue clinical supervision when they've completed the 3,000 hours. Does this mean that we won't have to supervise them for the 24 months anymore if they complete that beforehand?
We were speaking in a bit of a shorthand. All the requirements for supervised experience must be met. The 24 months, the 3,000 hours, and the 100 hours of supervisory. Those are the minimums. So yes, if they've got
Okay.
3,000 hours in 18 months, they still must continue with supervision for the full 24 months.
Yes.
That rule has not.
Perfect. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for those questions. Robert, number 17, 781, 805, the schedule of sanctions. Is there anything different on it?
Nothing notable there. It's just aligning the new numbers with the new number.
Okay. And then one final question that I have back on number 9, 781, 403. You talked about if the supervisee gets a complaint against them, they should notify the supervisor. Does that work in reverse? If the supervisor has a complaint against them, do they notify their supervisees?
So that is not included in the rule, and thus it is not a requirement. Certainly, because we recognize a supervisor may have multiple supervisees and that may be only part of their practice.
Mhm.
I would certainly say if you're a supervisor and you get a complaint and it relates to work that you're doing with a supervisee, I would share that complaint with the supervisee because they may be impacted by that.
Okay.
And separate from the complaint side, the rules continue to exist that if you are a supervisor and you receive discipline and are no longer a supervisor, you must notify your supervisees and assist them to get a new supervisor, and their hours cannot count going forward. You must cease doing supervision. That's a very
Clear. That's clear.
in the
Yes.
rules.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. All right. So board members, do y'all have any questions related to agenda item 9B through 17? All right. Hearing none, seeing none, I would entertain a motion related to the approval of the rules to be moved forward to the BHEC Executive Council meeting in October.
This is Karina, and I make a motion to move forward.
Okay. Thank you, Karina. Need a second?
Second.
Have a second from Jason. All right. All those in favor of the motion related to the proposed rules 1 through 17, signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Okay. The motion does carry unanimously. All right. So that moves us to agenda item 10, discussion of possible action concerning the July 11th, 2025 letter from Council Chair John Belemowitz to board members and licensees calling for insight and suggestions to enhance disaster response. So we all received that letter, and Chair Belemowitz is just looking at ways that we can better serve the citizens of Texas in times of need and disaster, especially related to the July 4th flooding. That's what really created the urgency of this. So does anybody have any discussion or input? We had at the BHEC meeting in whenever it was, we had a guest speaker who talked about the statewide response system that social work and all the areas of BHEC can be a part of. And that sort of led to this discussion about what can we do and how we do it. So entertain any discussion or input anybody has. Okay. There's really no action to take here, is there, Robert? I mean,
Not specifically. I mean, this is sort of an open-ended invitation that we will continue to look at as staff. And certainly as anyone has suggestions or ideas, we are open to hearing them. As you said, the main way in which folks can get involved and be prepared is to sign up ahead of time for these disaster response teams and get trained. But yeah, and it is a hard hard problem to solve, or we would have solved it all.
Exactly. Okay. So anybody, members of the public, social workers out there, if you have any insight or ideas about ways that as a social work community we could better improve disaster response services in your area. I mean, you look at the Texas, Northeast Texas, it's very different than West Texas, South Texas. So if you've got input, use the contact us link on the BHEC webpage and just put in the subject line disaster response, and we can then sort and collect those and take that information, and we'll leave this as an agenda item for our next meeting as well, just to bring back any information that we have on that. So, all right. Agenda item number 11, recommendation for items for next meeting. Sarah, do we have anything that's
I have none
pertinent?
at this time,
Okay.
but board members may email me at any time for an agenda item.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so everybody's aware, we will be looking at committee appointments moving forward after this meeting. So check your emails from Sarah about that. All right. Any other items for discussion related to today's meeting? All right. Seeing none, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Pryor. Need a second.
I'll second that.
Got
Okay.
that from David. All those in favor, you may raise your hand and leave the meeting. So thank you all very much for your time today and for your service to the citizens of Texas.
Thank y'all.